Hi, y'all. Thanks for joining me again on Woman to Woman with Sarah. Last week we talked about biblical alms, which was a type of charity. And if you'll remember, a charity is defined as love with action. It's when you love God and you want to bless Him by blessing somebody else, so you take action to do so. One way to do that, we discussed last week, as I mentioned, is biblical alms, and that's when you give something tangible to somebody in need. That doesn't necessarily have to be money. It can be an item, something that they can hold or eat or wear, whatever. That's considered alms. It doesn't necessarily have to be to somebody who's poor. God defines a need differently. That need can be a need of the heart. So maybe you notice that somebody's lost a loved one, so you give them flowers. That could be considered alms. So I'd like to talk about some other forms of charity today. Remember, charity, love with action. So these are things that you do to help somebody in need outside of giving them something. So what are things that we can do that help people in need? Well, let's look at an example in the Bible. I want to take you really quickly, ladies and gentlemen, if you've joined us, to Acts 3, 1 through 8. And we're going to read this today, so I hope y'all are into a little bit of Bible study. So Acts 3, hope y'all are all there now. Now this is after Christ has been crucified, and Peter and John are going from town to town and witnessing and testifying. So let's begin reading. I'm in the King James Version. Now Peter and John went up together into the temple at the hour of prayer, being the 9th hour. And a certain man, lame from his mother's womb, was carried, whom they laid daily at the gates of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask alms of them that entered into the temple. So this guy's, they're dropping him off, and he's begging at the end of the temple. Who, seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, asked an alms. Please, man, can you help me out, man? And Peter, fastening his eye upon him with John, said, Look on us. And he gave heed unto them, expecting to receive something of them. Then Peter said, Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. And he took him by the right hand and lifted him up. And immediately the beggar's, feet and ankle bones received strength. And he, leaping up, stood and walked and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising God. So they didn't have money or anything tangible that they could give him, but they gave him what they had. And in this case, they gave him their faith and a prayer and healing. So maybe you don't have money. Maybe you've got a lawnmower that's running really, really well, or runs well enough, and a neighbor up the road who's not able to mow their yard for some reason. Maybe their mower broke down, or maybe they're injured, maybe they're lame. I'm not trying to be insulting about that, but maybe they're not capable for some reason. Maybe they've got COVID right now. Maybe they're going through recovering from a car wreck, and you decide that you want to help them out. Well, you could take your mower and you could mow their yard for them. Of course, ask them, let them know what you're wanting to do, and let them know in the same spirit that Peter and John did. Let them know that this is in the name of Jesus Christ, that you're doing this to honor him, and because you love them, because he loves them. So, charity through service. You can do this in lots of different ways. You can find an organization that does good in your area, that you believe strongly in their cause. You can offer time, maybe volunteer once a month to help them do something. That is considered a form of charity for sure, absolutely. So, what are other forms of charity? Well, Peter and John didn't mow this guy's yard. They're not the ones carrying him to the temple every day. Those people carrying him were doing an act of charity, carrying him and doing service and love, showing love through action. So what action did Peter and John take? Prayer. They did it in the form of a miracle in the name of Jesus Christ. But it wasn't through his power, their power. In fact, they go on to say later on that you're looking at us like it was us that did this. And it wasn't us. It was through Jesus Christ. It was through him. And that is shown in verse 12, if you skip just a little bit further ahead. And when Peter saw it, he answered unto the people. They've all crowded around him. They've come to Peter. And they're like, hey man, you just healed him. Heal me. Heal my cousin. Heal my brother. Heal my mother. Help them. And when Peter saw it, he answered unto the people, ye men of Israel, why marvel ye at this? And why look ye so earnestly on us, as though by our own power or holiness we had made this man to walk? He goes on to say in 13, the God of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob, the God of our fathers, has glorified his son Jesus, whom ye delivered up and denied him in the presence of Pilate when he was determined to let him go. And he condemns him. He says, you killed the man, that it's in his name, by his power, that we were able to do this. And you know, later in Acts 4:4, it says that 5,000 people were saved. I don't think 5,000 people would have been saved if they'd stood there and handed that man a $5 bill. Or even a shekel or a piece of gold or whatever it is that they used at the time. Even if they brought him a cheeseburger and said, in the name of Jesus Christ, have a meal. What they did, their prayer, that miracle they worked, they used it to open the door to testify. And 5,000 people were brought to salvation in the name of Jesus Christ. And I haven't read far enough along in here yet. I couldn't pull up the verses, but I am sure there were miracles worked among those 5,000 too. So, acts of prayer. Prayer is an act. It's something you do. A word of kindness can be an act of charity. You know, a lot of organizations offer people a job. What if your neighbor doesn't necessarily need a hand out? He needs a hand up. Maybe you've got some work around the property that needs done, and you have enough money to offer that man a fair wage compensation for his time. You know, asking somebody to come over and do 8 hours of work and expecting to pay them $50 isn't really much charity. You've really already got your reward. But maybe you've got a job that takes 4 or 5 hours, and you've got $150 to spare. That's a decent compensated wage. Now you're doing them a hand up. They have a chance to keep their dignity and their pride. So giving somebody a job can be, if done in the right spirit and the right way, can be an act of charity too. So there's so many. I could spend 15, 20 minutes sitting here just listing them out for you. I want to hear if you've got others that you can think of. I've mentioned 3 or 4 really good ones here. Service, prayer and miracles, word of kindness, offered somebody a job, all acts of charity. Can you think of some others I haven't mentioned yet? Let me know in the comments down below. Guys, I really am enjoying doing these and talking with y'all about this. I hope you're learning from it. I really value your feedback and input. I think I'm learning and growing as much as y'all are. So be sure to comment. Be sure to share this video. Please, if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe down there and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed talking about this. If you disagree with me strongly, I want to know why. Be sure to comment if you give me a thumbs down. Thanks for y'all's time. Thanks for joining me. Have a blessed day, y'all.